Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
Promised you that we were going to take you to Bonaire, not literally, but a delegation from Bonaire, they've made a visit to Barbados, and we really want to check in with them. They left on Saturday to continue their awareness mission around the Caribbean and Latin America about solidarity and support for the case of Bonaire. So let me go ahead and welcome Davika Bissessar, and we also have with us Finies, and I certainly hope that I am pronouncing the names correctly. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
All right,
Thank
so
you.
tell us all about this mission, this travel. What's the purpose of moving around the Caribbean and Latin America?
Thank you for having us so much. I'm James Finies, and our mission is to bring awareness of our situation, of that situation of Bonaire. Bonaire is our island, Bonaire. It's in a status of, after 2010, we went in a complete colonial status back. And the world doesn't know this, Caribbean doesn't know this, and nobody knows this. So to do that, we had to make a report, an international report that was done by United Nations experts that investigated our situation and documented it in a self-governance assessment of the island of Bonaire, and that is the highest level of information and that can be received on Bonaire status. And this report, we will with that we are going around since now is 300 days, 395 days. We have been traveling outside our island. That is about more than a year, actually. That we went to the Central American and Latin American countries, and now we are in the Caribbean back. And that is what we do is talk to governments, talk to leaders, talk to institutions on those islands who are member of the United Nations, and that to bring awareness, to hand them this report where they get information about our island and how our situation is, because this report determined that we fall below the minimum standards, accepted standards of international law and United Nations of self-governance. So that is the bottom line of our issue. Our status does not agree with nothing that is accepted in the world, and that's not possible we should live in a state like that. So that is how our mission is, to bring awareness and seek support from countries on our case.
All right, so it's one thing to bring awareness, but what are you hoping for as an outcome in moving through the Caribbean and Latin America? What is the purpose of what you're doing outside of bringing awareness? What are your hopes with these particular governments and people whom you're telling about your situation in Bonaire? What do you hope will be done?
To put Bonaire on the list of non-self-governing territories as a protection, like the protecting the turtles, the donkeys, the indigenous people on Bonaire is going extinct. So it will protect Bonaire. To be able to lobby and make awareness, the United Nations countries, our regional neighbors, are very important for this aspect. As putting Bonaire on the list will help us, and Holland will have to obligate it to report to United Nations about our social, economical, cultural, educational development. At this moment, Bonaire is becoming a minority, and we have become less than a third percent of the people of Bonaire. Since Bonaire, the dissolution of the Netherlands Antilles, Bonaire become open borders, and the Dutch came in. The Dutch people, Dutch immigrants, we call them settlers, colonization, came to the island and take over the island, making Bonaire people a minority on their own island. So this is our objective, to put Bonaire on the non-self-governing territories of the United Nations, and the leaders in the countries, our members in the region, can help us.
All right, you are now a part of the an associate member of the CARICOM Reparations Commission. What does membership with organizations like this one, or being a part of this subsect of that organization, what do you believe that can do for your cause?
I think this is a major breakthrough for us on Bonaire, because before we didn't have any representation in the international arena. Only Holland was speaking, and because they do the foreign relations for our islands, no other people on this island can speak internationally on our issues. So now, because this is a human rights issue, actually our people are in a situation of very high breaking and violating our rights, but nobody can speak about us. So this CARICOM granting us this membership is a major breakthrough, because it enables us as the people rights to speak about our rights and also defend, because before that we didn't have any representation as the people nowhere. So this is a major, and CARICOM reparations is for us the best thing, because now the Caribbean is speaking back about our past, our colonial past, and we were forgotten completely in this thing as a Caribbean island far in the Southern Caribbean. This brings us back the possibility to speak about us, discuss us, and when you're doing that, there will be solution and hope for us back. Before, there was no hope for us. We were on the path to disappear, but this gives us hope back, because our voices will be heard and our rights has to be respected. That is what we fight for, to respect our rights as a people, because we are people same as every other people in the world. That's just summarizing. CARICOM's effort is very big for us, because it will give us the people's voice in the Caribbean international arena.
Ms. Bissessar, now you are president of the Bonaire Human Rights Organization. So, you know, this is a part of your mission as you move. As you said, you've been on a 395-day mission to bring awareness to what is happening in Bonaire. What is the conversation like on the ground in Bonaire, on a wide basis, or a nationwide basis? Is this a conversation that members of your community are having? Is it a concern across the country as well?
Yes, that's a very good question, ma'am. And it's very interesting. The Bonairean people voted, Mr. Finies stood up, was a banker, left his banking job, and went on the road to protest. He occupied the government office in 2014, and demanding a referendum for the Bonairean people to have a say, because our constitution changed without the consent of the Bonairean people. So he stood outside the government office for 222 days, outside of protesting with blackboards, sleeping on the bench or in his car in the sun and the rain, Carnival, Christmas, all those days, and in order for us to get a referendum. So if you ask about the people stood up and supported him for a referendum. After 222 days, the government decided to issue a referendum. And in that referendum, the people said 66% of the people rejected the Dutch status, the present Dutch status that we are in. 66% of our Bonairean people supported Mr. Fini's referendum. And the results was phenomenal, historical. So in that way, the people start to support Mr. Fini's in aiding to make that report that Mr. Fini's was talking about. In that report, it cost us over 30,000 US dollars. We raised that through barbecues, car wash, civil society organizing drives, donation drives. It was an island-wide support to pay for that report. It was normally done by governments. And we as a civil society group made that, contracted that UN expert to make that report to prove what we were saying was right. Bonaire is not according to the United Nations Charter. And that is what, if you ask about the people depend on us. They support us. They are helping in Bonaire and cheering us onwards for our heroic movement coming out and making this lobby mission a success. So the Bonairean people is very, very supportive of Mr. Finies.
Mr. Finies, to put everything in perspective, what's the end game?
The end game is to be, as every human being in this world, have the right to self-governance, to be equal and free as everybody else. And that is that was decided by the world in United Nations in 1945 after the World War. Every nation, every country should have the right to govern themselves one way or other. It doesn't mean how small you are, how big you are. It is a right that doesn't depend on none of this. So that is what we have been taken away from us. We have been deprived from us. We have been denied from us. And the United Nations have a system that's called the United Nations Self-Governing Territories that provides that road. This Article 73 of the United Nations provides us as a people who can defend ourselves, and United Nations and the world promise to stand for the ones who cannot defend themselves, help us in that trajectory to our just full, yes, a just trajectory of inherited and acquired rights has to be respected and fulfilled. And so that is the end game, is that we, as every other people, should walk that way, that our children, our who's coming generation, future generation, will enjoy the life how they think is right, keeping their culture, keeping the language, keeping the identity. I speak Papiamento, today I speak in English. All those things are our rights as a people to maintain. If we doesn't get this help, we will disappear. That is our major concern, that we have to do what we're doing now. We will disappear in a couple of decades, and as nothing happened. So I ask what it is that we will be having a just full process of decolonization and self-determination and then self-governance as the people. That is
Wow.
that we all are afraid to in this world. We too, as Bonairean people.
All right, wonderful. James Finies and Davika Bissessar of the Bonaire Human Rights Organization. I wish you all the best on your mission as you continue on, and thank you so much for sharing.
Thank you so much for having us.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.